Hello, I'm Darren Slack with NFA's QB Cast, your weekly prep talk podcast designed to help you set your thermostat and to prepare you to play your best on game day. You know, week 3 produces the first real look at where our football team stands as a unit. It's the chance to see what all the hard work of the offseason has produced. The first practice game jitters and miscues are hopefully past, and our potential begins to come into focus. I say potential because your best plays and days are ahead of you. If we peak in week 3 as a team, that's not a good sign. What coaches are looking for this week is players who are bright spots. They want big plays, team chemistry, and leadership that they can build on. It's this last point, leadership, that I want to continue to address in these opening weeks because everything we want to achieve as a team depends on that. A team with talent but not leadership will not realize its full potential. A leaderless team is a rudderless ship. You may not sink quickly, but you're highly unlikely to achieve your destination because your team is set adrift. Talent-laden teams without leadership are usually shipwrecked in big games because of disunity, disloyalty, and selfishness. These are things we want to try to avoid with great leadership. Week 3 and following are big games because we may be starting our district or our conference schedules, which will determine our playoff and our bowl eligibility. Or we're just getting the real season started from where we live. So leadership is the driving force behind all the great teams and seasons. So I want to highlight how leadership can impact Week 3's games through this week's podcast challenge to maximize encouragement, manage errors. So let's drill down on maximizing encouragement first. Encouragement is the act of giving support, confidence, or hope to another. It's expressing confidence in another's ability and value to the team in a specific, intentional, and timely way. Encouragement must be specific to be considered authentic. In other words, it's important to identify the reason for the encouragement when it's offered. Just saying something doesn't really mean anything if we don't know what we're talking about. Next, it must be thought through in order to make sense when it's delivered. Sometimes we can mean to encourage someone without thinking about what to say, and it can certainly come out wrong. We don't want that to happen. Finally, it's important that encouragement be offered as soon as reasonably possible following the contribution. The sooner it comes, the more appreciated it will be, regardless of what people say like, oh, it was nothing or it was no big deal. Yes, it was. The fact that they're saying it wasn't suggests exactly the opposite. They're just seeking to sound unaffected by your words. Don't buy it. Encouragement matters to players and to coaches a lot. So it needs to be specific, intentional, and timely, or it won't be as appreciated. Now that we have some thoughts on the way to encourage, you need to realize that encouragement only happens when it's communicated in one of 3 ways. The first one is vocal encouragement. Just thinking about someone's effective contribution does nothing for them. Also, just popping out a comment like good job won't do much either. Now, we may not have much time for much else in the moment. Hey, good job could be all we could say, but that comment's like a placeholder giving you a chance to return later when things settle down to make a more meaningful, specific, intentional, and timely comment about what they did. Even something as simple as, hey, that thing you did, it was great. I was in a jam and you really saved it. Thanks, man. See, that'll do the job. It's all we need to do. Everyone benefits from vocal encouragement. It helps the person receiving it, those around you who hear it, and the person giving it. The person receiving it is affirmed in their value and contribution to the team. It bolsters their confidence and strengthens their resolve to keep up the good work. Those around who hear it are appreciative of the player as well and are glad that honor is being given to the one who earned it. It also inspires them to perform in a manner worthy to receive those same accolades in the future. They want to hear that kind of word said about them. And the person giving the encouragement encourages themselves in being others-focused, and they receive an emotional energy pickup from the recipient's acknowledgement and appreciation. So everybody benefits. Encouragement is an energy-building, powerful antidote to negativity, bad team chemistry, and lost momentum in games. And like momentum, when you have a lot of people doing it, a lot of people encouraging, good things will start to happen. The second form of encouragement is written encouragement. The power of a handwritten encouraging note is immeasurable. The football season demands a great deal from everyone, a great deal of emotional energy expended not just on the field, but in every area of life to sustain the commitment required for success. This emotional energy is summed up in a word: morale. Morale is defined as the confidence, enthusiasm, and discipline of a person or group at a particular time, and we need a high morale for our team to continue to stay motivated. A written note of expressed confidence to fellow teammates, coaches, or even the managers will do wonders for team morale. I once had a manager in college who impacted dozens of players during his service at the university. One practical demonstration of his effort was weekly handwritten notes that I would find in my helmet affirming my faith in God, his faith in me, and my value to the team. He didn't always know what I was going through, but they helped me so much just to get through rough mental and emotional patches. And he just kept doing it. He was very consistent, and it made a huge difference. You don't think you can have an impact with a single note? Well, think about this. Those notes were written over 28 years ago, and I'm still talking about them today and the way they helped me. It made a difference. The power of written encouragement remains long after the moment because the person can pull out the letter and reread what was said over and over again. Write your notes. They make a difference. Keep your comments well thought out, just as if you were speaking to people. Don't fill the page with fluffy statements. Be specific about what they did or do well, and offer perspective on their long-term value and their contribution. And express your appreciation for their sacrifice for the team. Be authentic and transparent, and you'll achieve your goal. Don't worry about being fancy with words. Most people live a long time without being encouraged on any regular basis. I'm confident that any effort will make a great difference. It just takes the courage to pull the trigger. This is one time when it's the thought that counts to people. Finally, the third way to express encouragement is through acts of service. Taking the burden off of someone by serving them is incredibly and phenomenally encouraging and such a practical way to build them up. We immediately thank someone who serves us this way because we're encouraged by their willingness to practically make us feel more important and value what we were doing by helping us in it. These are such simple steps we can take, but often serving others is such a rare thing that when we receive a conscientious act of kindness, we're affected in the same way as we would if someone spoke an encouraging word or even wrote a note. That's how impacting just a simple act that someone does for us can be. Acts of service require an awareness of others' needs in the moment, and it's a great way to send a message of another's value to the team. So here's some ideas. Get the linemen's bags out for them before practice. Spot your teammates in the weight room when they're lifting weights between sets. Clean up the locker room for the coaches. Pick up the balls and cones after practice. Clean up the water cups for the managers. Nothing is beneath you. Acts of service, just like the other forms of encouragement, have the same triple effect of blessing the recipient because they feel important, those who see it because they're inspired to emulate, and the one serving because we're able to succeed in putting others before ourselves. There is never a loser in acts of service, so let's get it done. Now, let's take a moment to discuss one of the early season challenges for teams. You have to manage errors. Now, this doesn't mean we don't have them. It's just how quickly we correct them and we recover that will determine who gets the early critical wins during the season. Every player on both sides of the ball is keyed up, and in that highly emotional state, errors are bound to occur. The key is to manage the aftermath of disappointment, distraction, and destruction that can happen if you don't put the errors behind you. Recovering quickly from errors is serving your team. It's courageous. It's mental and emotional toughness in practice that is desperately needed in today's very competitive game. Players who can sustain that kind of discipline in their thoughts after an error will be leaders that we need to reach our highest potential. However, not everyone is as good at putting their errors behind them quickly. For some, it's just immaturity. For others, it's insecurity. And for some, unfortunately, it's just pride. Regardless, it's a poison to a team's momentum, and each individual player needs to self-regulate in this area to protect the team from the negative impact of those things. Psychologists talk about one of the most damaging mental processes we can do after a failure. It's called rumination. It means to turn over something in the mind or to chew the cud like a cow bringing up food. It's bringing something back up over and over again, thinking about how it could have been done differently or better instead of the mistake that was made. Rumination is tied to every negative aspect of the mind: depression, anxiety, and mental disorders. The problem with rumination is that it's often focused on the emotions of the moment, such as how the failure makes us feel, the shame of the embarrassment, the lost approval, or the perceived lost reputation makes someone feel bad, and that tends to become the focus of the rumination instead of solving the problem that caused the rumination to begin with. Unfortunately, self-pity and self-defeat begin to take root, and that leads to a delay in getting things turned around. We suddenly forget that we're playing because we've done good enough to that point to be where we are. Instead, we drill down on the error and the mistake we made. Instead of reminding ourselves who we are and that we belong on the field contributing, all we can think about is the mistake. We need a healthy dose of perspective when faced with temptation to ruminate and obsess over past failures and errors. One mistake does not win or lose a football game, even if it's the last one apparently to decide a game. That game was lost in the second quarter by mistakes made then just as much as any mistake made at the end. We must reduce our sense of self-importance and humble ourselves to reset our perspective. Listen, this is still a game, and life will continue when it ends. This is a guiding principle we should always maintain in this game. It doesn't mean we don't care, it's just not the most important thing in our lives. And that's okay with everyone, even your coach. You have to know that. Finally, you're a member of a team and you have 21 guys working to help you overcome what went wrong. Turn your focus to serving their desire to win and stop serving your desire to feel bad about your mistakes. No one is thinking about you but you. You are thinking about you when you ruminate. And football isn't and can never be about you. So we need to get back to learning from what we did wrong, put the team first, and make the steps necessary to reduce the likelihood of doing it again. Listen, I realize that just saying, put it behind you and move on seems trite and uncompassionate. But managing errors is mostly about managing our emotional energy after the failure. And while it may seem harsh, spending any time giving air to feelings and focusing on our emotions under pressure is unhelpful and selfish in the moment. Instead, we need to double down our investment of our emotions, not toward thinking on our failure, but toward giving effort on the next play or the series to do better. Not in the mindset to protect ourselves or our ego or reputation, but in the mindset of serving our teammates. If we make it our passion to press through errors and to deny our right to feel bad about our mistakes, we're sacrificing for our teammates in that moment. And at the same time, we're increasing the likelihood of our teams winning by doing our part to manage errors. I do hope we can learn to maximize encouragement and manage errors, and I hope you find this helpful in your preparation this week. I do wish you the very best in this important game for your team. We'll see you next week.